These investments are complemented by a strong commitment to corporate social responsibility. The fact is that Canada can offer a lot to our partners in the region in all of these sectors. And our partners in the region, many of them, Mexico primarily, have known this for some time, but many of the other neighbors in the region with which we are deepening contact today are beginning to understand exactly what Canada can offer. Take innovation, for example. Canada's home, again, as we all know, to some of the world's most exciting scientific research and technology development. And our government has recognized the importance of innovation to the national economic agenda and is working to reshape our trade policy to reflect this new reality. But our approach also includes efforts to work with our global partners to develop tomorrow's scientific breakthroughs. Let's take a look at Brazil. We enjoy a strong track record of collaboration with Brazil in innovative areas like biotech, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, space technologies, and renewable energy. We're pushing this relationship even further with a new joint science and technology agreement. An agreement that will make it even easier for scientists, researchers, and innovators from both countries to join forces, put their ideas, expertise, research, and innovation to work in markets around the world. Just one more example of what Canada can offer our partners in the region and what they can offer us. As Canada reinforces its connections with the region, we're also working in support of the next generation of leaders. Last week at the Summit of the Americas in Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Harper announced the Emerging Leaders of the Americas Scholarships Program, which is an expansion of our existing program. Up to 1,600 scholarships are available starting in the coming academic year for students to pursue studies or research here in Canada in fields that will serve to advance the economic, social, and governance needs of the hemisphere. These new leaders will have an appreciation when they graduate of our Canadian values and our technologies and our know-how. It will also help enrich institutional partnerships between Canada and countries in the Americas. Of course, as part of our strategy in the Americas, we're also opening doors for Canadian businesses through a range of free trade agreements. Our NAFTA agreement with Mexico, of course, and the U.S. Is a spectacularly successful model, but it needs to be contemporized. There have been changes. Building on more recent FTAs with Chile and Costa Rica, pending FTAs with Peru and Colombia, which are now being ratified in Parliament. We're pushing forward on negotiations with Panama, bilateral treaty with Panama, and a collective free trade agreement with the so-called Caribbean Four, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. We don't twist arms in these negotiations, although we've had to reassure some of our partners in negotiations that we are not, as the Europeans before us, as concerned about winning the best deal for ourselves. What we're looking for is to reach agreements that will be mutually beneficial and which 1 or 2, 5 or 10 years down the road will not be cause for resentment that someone didn't get a fair and appropriate deal. Because of Canada's long-standing relationship with the countries of the Americas, I've been able to have some wonderfully open and frank discussions with senior political leaders in areas where Canada is concerned, such as in areas of criminal activity, corruption, and the need for greater transparency and accountability in government. In particular, on one of my first visits, I was able to express Canada's deep concern over allegations of fraud during local elections in Nicaragua last fall. Just as an example of the esteem with which Canada is held, at the end of what was a very sensitive discussion with a couple of bursts of emotion, I said, well, changing the topic, Mr. President, I wonder whether you might be inclined to support Canada's candidacy for the a non-permanent seat on the Security Council when it comes for a vote next year for 2011-12. And he said, por supuesto. Who else would we want to represent us in the United Nations? On the other hand, I was pleased to recently be able to commend El Salvador on a free and fair election this past March, and planned with him the inauguration of the new president in June. Following the summit last weekend, the Prime Minister and I traveled to Jamaica, where he reaffirmed Canada's interest in deepening our engagement with this important regional partner and the whole of the Caribbean, again through the negotiation of a mutually beneficial trade deal. We pointed out the benefits, for example, offered by the agreements with Peru and Colombia. Some of them are very different, given the difference in economies, geography, and financial capacity. But these agreements give our companies and producers a competitive edge in many key sectors, including wheat, paper products, mining, oil and gas, engineering, information technology, and financial services. This represents a great opportunity for Canada's agricultural producers to benefit from the immediate removal of tariffs from such cornerstone crops as wheat, making them more competitive in these lucrative markets. Manufacturing, another good example. It's no secret that Canadian manufacturers across the country are facing tough times today, particularly in southern Ontario, and they all need new opportunities to help ride out the storm and emerge on the other side. And that means opening doors in new markets such as Peru and Colombia. With these agreements, Colombian and Peruvian tariffs on most machinery and industrial goods will be eliminated. This is especially significant for Canadian manufacturers of mining equipment, of industrial machinery, construction equipment, and a number of other manufactured products. The agreements also create opportunities for Canadian companies to access lucrative government procurement contracts in these markets. And they take steps to promote two-way investment between Canada and our partners